Can we have roll call, Ms. Byram?
Yes. Mrs. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Hopkins?
Here.
Mr. Jones?
Here.
Ms. Page?
Here.
Ms. Quintern? Madam Chair, the clerk certifies the presence of a quorum.
Okay, can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And at this time, Dr. Hornick, is there, I'll ask, is there any additions to the agenda?
No, ma'am.
Hearing that there are no additions to the agenda, I would entertain a motion to accept it, please.
I make a motion we approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Thank you. Next up, we have consideration for board member request to participate remotely. So I need a motion to accept this.
I make a motion that Chelsea Quinton can take part in this meeting and have full voting rights.
Okay. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor by saying aye? Aye?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Noted that this will include meetings of tonight, the 4th, and the 18th. Okay? Dr. Hornick, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the board. First this evening is go to the governing board nomination. So we had went over this information. This is actually a few meetings ago with the board, and this signals our intent to be willing to participate. Should there be the student interest for folks for our this would be for rising freshmen for this upcoming school year. So our current 8th graders to participate in the Academy for Technology and Innovation at the University of Mary Washington. This was the third lab school to be approved in the Commonwealth, right after the Future Educators Academy. And they are to the point now where they are starting to put together a governing board. And so it would be right now 4 schools in this particular planning district: Stafford, City of Fredericksburg, Caroline, and King George. And then this would be a school board member of ours to serve on the governing board as well for the Academy of Technology and Innovation. And so this is for your consideration to see if we could have a board member here identified, and then we can I will let the folks at the Academy know that this has been approved, and that we are signaling our interest in providing this opportunity to our students.
Okay.
Are you willing to do this? There's going to be daytime meetings if she can.
What is the schedule looking like? Do we have any idea of the schedule?
Not yet, no, ma'am.
So
We do not.
do we have a proposed date when it will start?
Renee, do you remember? I don't know if they got that specific.
Okay.
Well,
Well, I would actually nominate Chelsea, since it's on her side of the district. She would be
or
closer.
Sandy.
For temporary, at least if we start before the beginning of the year, and then we can always reevaluate that if we need to at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
So the motion is for Chelsea.
I second it.
All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you all. Good. Okay, thank you very much. Next, we will go to our division gifted plan. And this was presented at our last meeting. Yes, ma'am.
Are there any questions of this? If there aren't any, can I have a motion to accept this?
Yes, I make a motion, we approve the gifted education plan for years 2022 to 2027 as presented.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, motion carries.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Next, we have the Gifted Advisory Committee. This was also brought forward at the October 23rd meeting, and so we are requesting your approval of these members of the 23-24 Gifted Advisory Committee.
Are there any questions?
I think I asked, this was at the last meeting, correct? About having a board member on that committee as well.
Renee? Or Judy?
When did those start? January? Okay.
So I say we can accept this and then at the
Yeah, we can do it in January then.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So I'd like a motion to accept this.
Do you need a
No,
motion
no,
to stipulate
If we're gonna
that?
put a board member on there, we better get it in the motion.
Okay? Sure? If you
I'll
put
make
it
a
in your
motion that we accept it as presented with the addition of a board member after the new year.
Okay,
Is that all right?
yep. Can we have a second?
Second?
All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
And then next, we have our Title I Parent Advisory Committee. And this was also brought forward previously.
Any questions? So can I have a motion to accept this?
I make a motion, we approve the Title I Parent Advisory Committee members as presented.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Next, we'll have Mr. Arnold come forward, and we're going to discuss the cafeteria extension / walkway connector at Gordon Barber Elementary School. Mr. Arnold.
Thank you, Dr. Hornick, Madam Chairman, members of the board. The school board, about 2 years ago, approved a contract with Stantec Architecture to provide design services, bid assistance, construction administration, and closeout for the Gordon Barber Elementary School addition and renovations project. The initial RFP for these services included the design of enclosed walkways between the main building and the two annexes, plus an option to expand the cafeteria, which was designed for the classrooms in the original building only and is quite small relative to the current student population at the school. Unfortunately, the estimated cost of the addition, vestibule enclosure, and ramp room alone exceeded the available budget at the time, so the design of these renovations, which is the walkway connectors and cafeteria expansion, were not included in the original contract with Stantec. Based on a verbal commitment from the county to fund the construction of the walkway enclosure and cafeteria expansion project, we requested a proposal from Stantec to add the design of these facilities back into their contract via change order and have the design ready to go when funding for the construction has been confirmed. Stantec responded with a proposal that is in line with our expectations. Approval of this change order will be requested at the December 4th regular meeting. Any questions or comments from the board? Thank you.
Well, my only comment is December 4th, we need to have some kind of monetary, we need,
It's in the report. I'm sorry, Mr. Hopkins. It is
okay, is there a point,
$132,000.
something attached?
Yes, sir. It's in the agenda item.
Oh, okay, okay, I see it. Okay, that's no problem then.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Deb.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Arnold. And then next, I will bring Dr. Honaker forward. And so we're here this evening to provide, last meeting we handled the elementary schools. And at this meeting, we're going to handle our secondary schools and their accreditation. So there are some things that are the same as far as how secondary schools are accredited. However, there are some additional requirements for our high school that we will detail for you all as well in how they are accredited from the state. So, Renee, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, good evening, Dr. Hornick, Madam Chair, members of the board. The principals of the secondary schools and I look forward to presenting our secondary accreditation results and then each school's continuous improvement plans. So secondary school accreditation is measured by 4 categories that you see here. First, student achievement, which is based on a pass rates on the SOL test. The student achievement benchmarks must be met by all students and each subgroup. The assessments used for accreditation include math, science, and reading. Attendance, another component, is measured by the chronic absenteeism rate, and at the high school level, graduation and dropout rates are considered when determining state accreditation, as well as the College Career and Civic Readiness Index. That is measured by on-time graduates' completion of one of 5 criteria that I'll go over in just a second. We are happy to report that all of our schools, secondary schools, are accredited according to this year's requirements. So in addition to overall accreditation status, the state provides ratings relative to performance in each of these quality indicators. Student achievement on reading, math, and science, chronic absenteeism, and for high school graduation rate dropout, and the College Career Civic Readiness Index. The academic indicators look at the overall proficiency as well as subgroups. The proficiency levels for each area are listed here. Additionally, the chronic absenteeism indicator requires that no more than 15% of a school's student population can be chronically absent. If students miss 18 or more days, they are considered a chronic absentee. The on-time graduation rate measures the percentage of students who graduate within 4 years of entering high school. The graduation indicator for the current year or a 3-year average must be at least 88. We had last year a 92.59 graduation rate for the 22-23 school year. The dropout rate can be no more than 6%, and we were at 4.31%. The CCCRI, as they call it, uses the unduplicated count of students in the on-time graduation cohort, and that basically means students who enter 9th grade and graduate within 4 years. And it measures student preparation for college and careers. In order to be counted, students must meet at least one of the following: advanced coursework, CTE course sequences and credentials, JROTC coursework and credentials, work-based learning, and or service learning. This is the first year the CCCRI has counted in our accreditation rating, and we actually had 85.63, so we made that. I don't know why I have so much trouble with CCCRI, just 2 C's. Okay, Laura? So the state provides each school a rating or level for each of the components that we described on the last slide. A level 1 rating means that the school's performance in that area is at or above the benchmark, or they earned sufficient improvement from a level 2. A level 2 rating is near the benchmark or satisfactory improvement, and level 3 means the school performance is below the benchmark, or that performance was at a level 2 or more for 4 consecutive years. The quality indicator level of 1, 2, or 3 can be based solely on the performance of the current year or based on a 3-year average. And we've listed the different ratings that you need. So each school uses a continuous school improvement cycle to develop a comprehensive school improvement plan. Principals and their staff work with division staff to analyze data, develop a plan, implement action steps, and monitor progress to determine effectiveness. These plans include strategies that monitor whether our curriculum is engaging, relevant, and rigorous, as you see in the middle, and that assessments, and lesson plans are aligned in both content and rigor. Additionally, to ensure students are college and career ready, the 5 C's, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, communication, and citizenship, are interwoven throughout lessons in all content areas. So tonight, each secondary principal will outline the strategic action steps that they're taking to ensure that their students are successful and their schools meet accreditation standards. So first, we're going to hear from Nick Sedano, our principal at Locust Grove Middle School.
Thank you, Dr. Honaker, and thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board, for the opportunity to speak to you tonight about our school's accreditation. This first slide that you'll see here shows the level 1, 2, 3 indicators for our academic and student engagement outcomes. So with academic achievement, you can see that our school is at benchmark and at the standard in English, math, and science. So we achieved level 1 there, and we're proud of that. However, the middle column shows achievement gaps, and that's where we'll look on the next slide exactly at what those achievement gaps are. But we do have some gaps in achievement, which means that we're approaching standard in our achievement gaps. And then on the chronic absenteeism under student achievement, you can see that we are at level 3, and we have a great need for improvement there. Though we have made some improvement, the data will show, there's more ground that needs to be covered. All right, so this here is all the specific subgroups that we're accountable for showing growth in. We are level 1 in the majority of them. However, our African American students in English are near the standard and in need of additional growth. Our economically disadvantaged students are at level 2 in both reading and math. Therefore, we'll have to show additional growth there. And then our students with disabilities are a level 3, and I think this is some consecutive years at level 3. So we have to show improvement this year with our students with disabilities to maintain full accreditation. Our student performance has had difficulty recovering from the COVID pandemic, the learning loss associated. In this graph, you can see where we've been and where we are now. From 2019, skipping 2020, 21 due to the waivers from COVID, not having tests and not having students in the building. And then we have 2022 and 2023, trends which have shown that children are struggling to recover from the ground lost. The orange line indicates the standard for accreditation that we want to hit and that we need to hit. So when we come back around this table next year, you will see it going back towards those numbers. Chronic absenteeism, as I mentioned, this is where we're level 3, with 27% of our students being chronically absent from school. Chronic absenteeism, as you know, is defined as missing 10% of the school year or more, so that's 18 days of school. And it's obvious during 2020, 2021 why that may have been the case, but we have had trouble getting the children back into their seats following that. But you can see with this long-term 10-year graph, you can see historically how our numbers have not been much cause for concern. It's been around 15, below 15. But with 2020, it shot up and to 34%, and we saw a decrease in chronic absenteeism last year through some hard work down to 27%. However, that's 12% off of the state's target for us, so we have a lot of work to do there. The bottom graph just simply shows two circle charts indicating the percentage of students who missed less than 10% of the school year and more than 10%. All right, so as you can see, we have our work cut out for us, but that's not something we're shying away from. I broke our school improvement strategies into several subcategories to better organize them. So for chronic absenteeism, is our area that we're at level 3. That's the area we need to focus the most on. And some of the things that we're doing are listed here. Paramount amongst those, though, is making connections with students so they know that we know when they're not in school and when they are in school. Coming up to a student saying, we've missed you the past couple of days, is glad to have you back in school. The look on their face shows that, somebody noticed. So making sure students know that we know when they're in their seats is important. We're also continuing with incentives for perfect attendance, going from quarterly to monthly there, and then offering some challenges for grade levels and teams. So just offer some competition to it to see if that gets the children to at least be a little more motivated. messaging and communication, I think, is a paramount what we're going to need to do in order to change the outlook on chronic absenteeism. I think a lot of parents assume that 1 or 2 days doesn't add up, and it's just this month 2 days, this next month 2 days, but that adds up to 18 days pretty quickly. And we want to make sure parents understand not just the fact that there's compulsory attendance laws, but also the research behind that shows that children, the more time they spend in school, the better off they'll be in the long run. And to ensure that students and that parents understand what it is that we're talking about when we talk about chronic absenteeism. So putting a number to it and saying our students, 27% of our students were chronically absent last year, can do a lot to make parents understand, to help families understand the importance of it and what we're talking about when we're talking about chronic absenteeism. And then, of course, home visits are always the fail-safe when we can't reach anybody and we can't find them and can't locate them. We will go to the house and offer our assistance in removing barriers and figuring out how to get their children into school. As far as instruction goes, you can take a look at this. The main thing is the last one here. We want to get back to what works. Okay, we know what good instruction looks like. We've done it for years, and so we want to get back to hands-on learning experiences, technology in its place when it enhances instruction, but not as a standard. This is everything is going to run through the computer. So we want to get back to what works. Going back up to the top, though, our response to intervention process is something that we've always done, but we are strengthening it, and that we are really getting down to the granular student-by-student basis and tracking the student-by-student data on the unit tests, on their attendance, on their discipline, and looking at the whole picture of the student, and then looking at what are our interventions do we have in place for that child, and then how are they responding to them. So the response to intervention process is pretty robust, and we've kick-started it in a new direction, kind of. It's always been in place, but we're taking some new spins to it. We're also offering remediation classes for students that failed their reading or math SOL. They are in an exploratory, so we can add an additional 60 minutes of reading or math instruction every other day. And then we have all-in tutoring, which will take place after school. And we started October 3rd is when we had our first students staying for tutoring, and we've been expanding it steadily since. We had 40 students, I think, last Monday before Thanksgiving, and so we're offering Monday through Thursday with transportation. Now, your support on that has been huge, and the research shows that high impact tutoring is the way to go as opposed to weekly. You're familiar with our work with professional learning communities, but we've built in time for teachers to meet as teams. There's structured time in the master schedule so that teams of teachers can sit down, analyze data, plan lessons, and talk about student performance. We've offered some more clarity for teachers in terms of expectations for instruction and lesson planning. When I came on board, there was a survey that was given to the community, and in looking at that, some of the staff had put in that they needed more clarity in terms of what was expected for lesson planning, instruction, et cetera. So we've tried to offer that. And in addition, we know clarity is the main way that students can make gains in their learning because they know what they're expected to learn. Teachers are the same way. If they know what's expected of them, they're much more likely to hit that target. Special education, as I said, this is our year for special education. It's always a focus area, but this year with being at level 3, we have to make the move with special education in terms of moving student learning. The response to intervention process is going to be instrumental in that, but beyond that, we've also, through your support, have ample staff in terms of special education teachers this year to have a special education teacher on each team so they can work more closely with the team in ensuring that student learning is happening and that they're planning and co-teaching. So that extra set of hands, even though it's just one person, will do much to improve the overall special education program at Locust Grove Middle School. And then finally, content area reading and writing that goes under what works. We know it works. Reading and writing and social studies and science class. It shouldn't be separate, and so making sure that students are doing as much writing as possible across content areas, but in particular in social studies and science will do much to improve our overall scores. Moving on to family and student engagement. Last year we had the benefit of participating in Steve Constantino's cohort for family and student engagement, and through that I had some epiphanies, and one of those was the idea of the efficacious parent, which I've spoken about a lot over the past year and a half, which is essentially we want our parents to be empowered. We want our parents to believe in their ability to help their child. So one of the things that I thought about when I was synergizing that is that I'm a parent. I have a middle school child, and when she was in elementary school, I was thinking about this all the time. As the principal, even I don't have access to all the things I need to put my hands on to help them study in that given moment. So I've asked our teachers to make sure that they're emailing study guides out to parents at the beginning of every unit, emailing at least every 2 weeks to make a personal connection about what's happening in the classroom, test dates, quiz dates, and as I said, study guides and materials and resources that can be put in the parents' hands so then they can go and help their child, okay? And that's what I refer to as the efficacious parent. Greetings at the door are common. It sounds pretty obvious, but students are much more engaged when teachers are at the door waiting for the child to come in, greeting them by name. How was your game last night? Come on in, take a seat. It's the same way I try to model, and I think what we'll see in doing that is our student engagement will increase and our student performance will increase too. And then students won't want to leave the classroom as much. Going into eHall Pass here. We have purchased eHall Pass, which allows us to keep track of who is out of the classroom at any given time. If there was a safety situation, we would know who. We could just run a report and say, these are the students that aren't in their classrooms at this given moment. But beyond that, it allows us to draw data to see how much time is the child spending out of class. And we can use that when we're talking with a parent and say, your child's not doing well in math. Well, they spent 45 minutes out of math class in the past 2 weeks in the bathroom. So we can have those types of conversations without saying your child seems to be out all the time. We could say this is how much time they're spending out, and that's very helpful. And then we have the Bridging the Gap program, which is a collaboration between the Department of Education and local school divisions, in which we are developing personalized learning plans for 6th grade and 5th grade students. So our students that failed their 5th grade math SOL, our teachers have done a personalized learning plan for that child that goes home to the parents for them to review, sign, and return, and obviously a meeting as necessary. And then finally, we have teacher support. So our school will only be as successful as our teachers are successful in teaching. So we have I'm very thankful for Ms. Rombach. She is extremely organized, and she mapped out a calendar for every observation to occur this school year, and front-loaded that so that the vast majority of those can happen at the beginning of the school year, leaving the second half of the school year for us to pay extra attention to those that need extra attention. And that's that on-the-spot coaching. One of my approaches as a leader is to work with my teachers directly in a non-threatening manner to make them aware that I want to keep them there. Best way to keep them there is making sure that they have the skills they need to be successful, and not in a threatening or any sort of evaluative manner, but to have an on-the-spot, honest coaching conversation with the teacher and say, this is what I'm seeing, or this is the habit, this is the pattern that I'm seeing. Let's talk about that, and let's put some stuff in place. Excuse me. And then finally, that all goes back to, again, clear expectations and for instruction and student management that I can then refer back to, because it's challenging, but it's not rocket scientists. We know how to do this. And so we're really excited to put all these things in place, and we look forward to a great year and coming back in front of you next year, hopefully telling a little bit of a different story. And I'm now going to pass it on to Ms. Burke, Prospect Heights Middle School.
Thank you very much, Nick. Appreciate it. Ms. Burke, welcome.
Thank you for the introduction, Mr. Sedano. I really appreciate being here before the board, Madam Chair, board members, and Dr. Hornick to share our data at Prospect Heights Middle School and our continuous improvement plan. And so if you go to that first slide, as you can see, we have our work cut out for us. We do need to improve in the areas of academic achievement in English and science. You can see that we are near standard there. We are meeting the academic achievement in mathematics, and we are near standard in student engagement and outcomes in chronic absenteeism. However, we do have quite a bit of work cut out for us for our students with achievement gaps, and so we'll go into that on the next slide. As you can see, English, we are struggling in the area of economically disadvantaged Black students, and of course our students with disabilities who are at level 3, and we are near our standards as English learners, Hispanic, multiple races, and of course our white students. If you look at our achievement gaps in math, You can see the same trend for our Black students as well as our students with disabilities, as Nick alluded to earlier. The students with disabilities category is, although we are accredited, we have much work to do in that area because we're going to run out of that accreditation waiver for our students with disabilities. So that has been a focus area for our continuous school improvement team. And of course, our academic achievement, these trends are not what we're used to seeing. And so we are totally, I have my continuous school improvement team here that we've just met with. I mean, we have really worked extremely hard, and I want to recognize their hard work because it's truly a team effort in terms of addressing our achievement gaps in English, math, and science. You can see it's trending in a downward way that we hope to change this coming school year and see those trends go upward for the next school year. And of course, chronic absenteeism, we worked extremely hard in reducing our chronic absenteeism last year. We took it from basically 40% down to 19%. And as you can see in the pie charts below, we were at that 19% decrease. We worked extremely hard to be sure that we were getting kids in school last year. Our goal is to cut that in half for this school year. So we'd like to even reduce that by more than close to 50%. So there are three main areas that our school improvement team really wanted to address to look at the achievement gaps, especially with specific to our subgroups and our overall academic achievement in English, math, and science. And so the biggest piece that we took a look at, the majority of our staff are novice teachers, and so they need support. And our mentor teachers, we needed to have a clear line of communication on teacher clarity with our new teaching staff. So as we were reviewing lesson plans at the beginning of the year, we really focused in on how we were developing our lesson plans. And what we focused on was teacher clarity. How students are learning what they're learning for the day. How do we know that, how are they going to be engaged in that learning for the day? Going back to what works, what Mr. Sedano alluded to. And how do we know they were successful that day in learning? And so in developing specific content templates, lesson plan templates, these curriculum leaders and team interventionists, we sat down and reviewed what that should look like and gave staff development in that area so that all of our staff are on the same page when it comes to the teaching and learning within our school. So it was very important to be able to provide time. And so that's where our professional learning communities comes in. So you have to give time to teachers to be able to develop those engaging lessons to be sure that we are aligned with our state standards. And so we, at Prospect Heights Middle School, we're always in meetings, teacher meetings, and so it was very important to set aside 2 days a week. Ours are Tuesdays and Fridays where they have unencumbered time to meet at their PLC, at their grade level, and to work specifically with teachers who support those subgroups, our English language teachers, our special education teachers, and even our gifted instruction there to meet the needs of the students in those varying areas or subgroups. And so the specific thing that we were looking for is content alignment. So essentially we're looking at the written lesson plan, and then we're looking at how it's delivered. And so a very important piece to our continuous school improvement plan are our walkthroughs. And so we have collaborated with our central office staff in order to do these walkthroughs. These walkthroughs are specific to those content and actually match our lesson plan template. And so the other important piece to that is giving immediate feedback to our teachers. Mr. Sedano alluded to that. So very similar strategies. It's very important to know that teachers are aligned in the standards. So when we do those walkthroughs, we review those lesson plans. We look at the alignment to the standard and the verbs that go with that standard to be sure that how students are learning in the classroom, those verbs match. And we're also taking a look at the piece of how our teachers are communicating those learning intentions for the day, and how do we know that the students learn it at the end of the day. So those are all specific to that going back to that lesson plan, and then the feedback through our walkthrough observations. Another important piece to instructional piece of our continuous school improvement is tier teacher review lessons. We have hardworking teachers. I've got new teachers that they've never been in the teaching profession, and they need feedback. And we do this through our departmental meetings monthly, where they actually go in and they review another grade level's lesson plans. They're actually looking for teacher clarity on alignment. And so that piece is important. They're learning from each other. They're learning the different strategies that they are implementing in the classroom, sharing ideas. We are celebrating successes when we see, a really good walkthrough that matches an aligned lesson. Those are things we need to celebrate. And our teachers need to know that they're being successful in those areas. The other piece is, a huge piece, is staff development. Specific to teachers' content. We have really looked hard at providing, our leadership team, our continuous improvement team has looked hard at providing specific opportunities for them to learn things in their content area specific to maybe programs they're implementing in their classroom, Performance Matter in terms of data review, also in terms of, I'm just going to give the example, I have 2 science teachers here that came this evening. They just recently went to a conference in Williamsburg, Virginia. There are new science standards that have come out, and a new way of teaching science and approaching how we deliver science from our new state standards. And so they need development in those areas. It is new. It's a new way of thinking about teaching of science and how it should align to our state standards. And so they just recently went there last week, and so they will come back and share their ideas. That's important to build that capacity within our school, that knowledge and capacity. So staff development is a really important part of our instructional plan. The other piece is mentoring and supporting our new staff. As I said before, we actually are collaborating with Mary Washington University to support our new teachers in the area of lesson plan development. They come in and observe. They also are working with them in terms of classroom management, because that is an area of struggle for our new teachers who are coming in teaching. You can go to the next slide.
Just interrupt you for 1 second, Renee. Another thing I'd like to thank the board when we're looking at staff development, and I know we have some teachers in the room, the ability that you all afforded us and the support to do calendar a little bit different last year, moving into this year with actually designated work days, right, versus professional days, and then the opportunity to spread those professional days out over the course of a year, I think helped take the pressure off of teacher work week a little bit, so everything didn't have to be jammed in at 1 week. And then we can further and continue our staff development as we move through the Columbus Day, Election Day. I know we have another one in the spring, and that allows us to continue to further our ability to develop staff, because one of our biggest challenges, numerically, we are seeing better results as far as staffing, but the experience and the expertise across the board of folks coming into the profession is not what it has been historically in the past, and so that leaves us with a considerable challenge of mentoring and developing these folks, which is what Ms. Burke is talking about, and that takes a considerably larger amount of time and effort from our folks, our in-house professionals, like the folks that you see in the room, particularly those lead teachers, as well as the peer-to-peer work. And so the opportunity to have that time spread out over the course of a calendar so that we can do things in conjunction, and we can do things over time, and we can continue to refine and develop, takes it away from a one-time sit and get to a true continuum where we can actually work to further and develop our folks, and that's a huge challenge as we have, because many more of our new folks are not coming with as clinicians, right? They're not coming classically trained and clinically trained with student teaching, et cetera. Many times, this is their first foray into teaching, first time they're in front of a classroom, and that is a significantly different dynamic than we have seen even 10 years ago, probably even 5 years ago to that extent. And so I just would like to thank the board for your support, because that development of a calendar and those ideas came from the calendar committee and from teacher advisory. So just to thank you all for your willingness to move that needle a little bit and do something a little bit different that I think will ultimately pay off, and just appreciate that, and teachers as well. So thank you.
I know that our teachers have really excited about those work days. It allows them to do that collaboration, work within their PLCs without interruptions in a continuous amount of time. So we do appreciate that. If you could go to the next slide, please. So another piece of our continuous school improvement plan is our response to intervention. So what do we do when students don't learn? Our premise for this, or our umbrella is this, is under the Virginia Tiered System of Support System. And we look at our school team, which comprises of our grade level teachers, a school counselor, and an administrator, meet twice monthly to look at our response to our academics, behavior, and our attendance. And so in academics, an example of what we do at Prospect Heights Middle School, we review student data in terms of if a student failed SOLs or not meeting MAP benchmarks for the nationally normed test. We place them in math and English intervention classes in our first period, which runs all year long, A day, B day. Many of our students have needs both in math and English, so that we can give them both on an A day or a B day. And of course, we have Bridging the Gap. That is a program through actually William and Mary that we are collaborating with to improve our math scores in the 6th grade. So our Math 6 teachers worked with families and students to create a plan of achievement of where we want them to be and goals for math for this coming school year. And that just creates that family partnership and engagement there and supporting the learning at home. As many of you know, some of us here are a lot older than others, the way we teach math is much different than the way we learned math. And so they need that support, and parents need to understand where they can go find the resources to help their child with math at home. We also have the All-In Tutoring. We're very excited about that program. We actually did something very similar to the on-grade level tutoring. That's what that is meant to be. 4 is on-grade level tutoring for our students. We have actually restructured our schedule first period to offer all-in tutoring during our school day, the next semester that starts in January. But we're also in the process of right now making phone calls to about 140 students to schedule them for tutoring after school. Our response from our teachers, I have 15 tutors that have signed up, which has been wonderful, and have had some outside interest and have done some outside interview interest from people in our community. So we are also excited about that people are interested in tutoring from our community in our schools. If you look at behavior, we did reduce our behavior referrals to our state reporting category, and we do that through a robust school-wide expectation matrix and expectations in classroom, as well as incentives recognizing students who follow our behavioral expectations. The other piece I think we do very well and we continue to look at is creating community partnerships with children who struggle with behavior expectations and setting them up with some connections through those to get those support services outside the school that they may need. And of course, chronic absenteeism is a huge part. Mr. Sedano said it. If you're not in school, you can't learn. And so that's a major focus for us as well this school year. We're going to continue to meet our school registrar, our school social worker, myself, and our attendance clerk and a guidance counselor meet weekly to discuss attendance concerns. And really what we're trying to do is communicate clearly to parents how can we support them in getting their children to school, and them understanding our attendance policies is very, very important. So that communication, sending that out is very important to parents to let them know that their children aren't in school and they're missing days, and really being sure that we figure out what are those barriers, what are preventing them from coming to school. Sometimes it may be a family lives in Barboursville and they miss the bus. and parents can't get their children to school because they may work in Charlottesville. And so it's, setting up a plan, as much as that plan could be, is setting your alarm clock in the morning. Those things, those habits that we want our students to create. And of course, we do incentives. We do the quarterly incentives, 9 weeks, but we also do frequent incentives with our students who are attending, but also the ones that we've created plans for. We want to recognize that if we have put them on an attendance plan, that they have improved their attendance. They need to know that we are watching. Mr. Dono said the same thing. Very similar strategies that we're putting in place to address that chronic absenteeism. And of course, home visits are very important. A lot of times, some of our children are, with elderly grandparents or people that can't make it into the school and meet with us, or, struggle with that. So we meet them where they are. We go out and do home visits to create those plans, which is very important. That also gives that connection of, we care about their child. We want their child to be in school. And of course, the last piece of our continuous school improvement plan that we want to focus on is family and student engagement. Communication is very, very important. We do some very similar things as the other middle school. One of them is that we send out weekly events about what's going on in our school, whether it's academic or related to extracurricular activities, but also academics. We send out a Monday alert letting parents know. It's sort of like the old homework hotline we used to have before COVID, where we let parents know what are the major assignments, quizzes, especially quizzes and tests. Studying is something that's been foreign, I think, to students, and so we're trying to get them back into those good study habits. Parents sitting down with their children at night studying for a quiz or a test, or having a major project that is due, that's very important. And of course, one of our areas that I alluded to earlier, our students with disabilities, we really wanted to make an effort at the beginning of our school year to welcome those families back, open that line of communication. We wanted to create a systematic way of supporting parents with some learning resources at home that their children also used in the classroom, so that if they go home and they're working on an assignment, or they have to finish something up, or it could be that the child was absent, there are some supports for the parents at home that the students are already using in school. So we have a kit for them at home and a kit for them at school to support that learning with our students with disabilities. And of course, students' involvement is huge. We got my National Junior Honor Society, sponsor here in the room. Right now, we're communicating that out. They're inducted, 7th and 8th graders are inducted into this, but it's really important for us to communicate those items of academic achievement and why you want to be part of those programs. So right now we're in the process of, kind of selling. Why do you want to belong to this organization or group? And so we will be doing our induction for that. So that involvement and that push for, being academically, smart, not the cool kid. You want to be that kid who is the cool kid and who is smart and works hard and wants to achieve. So that's another important piece. I have a great group of 26 actually, SCA, Student Council Association members, very different group of kids from all walks of life who have really looked at how can we make our school better. And they are all in. They want field trips. I can tell you what they want because that's what they told me they want. They love the learning that they learned when they go out and experience real life relevant things that they can apply. So that's very important to them beyond the things that we already provide. I thank you for that. You do provide us with a budget for field trips, but they want some of those things beyond those, those yearly field trips that we do. And of course, clubs and social events really engage our students. That's that belonging piece of if you don't make a team, you can be part of the soccer club. If you're not on the basketball team, but you love basketball. So those are just a few examples. If you love robotics. So really having that time to incorporate clubs into our schedule. Our SCA is working on that, and we've got a pretty good template. We just have to fill in a few more gaps for some clubs or interests that they may have that are appropriate for their age group, and we'll start that. Kids come to school for those things, not just for the academics, but they come to school for those extracurricular, those things that we can offer that they have similar interests with. So And of course, that all rolls back into our engagement and our lesson plan. So that's the heart of what our continuous improvement plan is about, and supporting our new teachers. So, does anybody have any questions? Okay. Well, I'd like to introduce Mr. Wayne Price, who is our Orange County High School principal.
Thank you, Ms. Burke. Appreciate it. Mr. Price, good evening, and I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, Dr. Hornick. Madam Chair, board members, it's a pleasure to be with you here tonight as we talk about Orange County High School. Tonight I'll be sharing with you some of the highlights that we had last year and also talking about some of the things that we're implementing this year to make our school even better. As you can see from this chart, we have a lot of things going in the right direction. However, there's two growth areas that you can see under English achievement gaps and also under chronic absenteeism, and I will be talking about those in a little bit. But let's go back and look. Under academic achievement, we're level 1 in every category, English, math, and science. Under our achievement gaps, we meet it very well in math. And under student engagements, we're level 1 in college, career, and civic readiness index, our dropout rate, and our graduation rate. But we do have some work to do. Things are not perfect, so we got things we can work on. Let's go back and talk about the achievement gaps in English. As you can see, we had two level 2s with our black students and our English language learners. We also had another one down here with our students with disability, but when you hear the data in just a minute, there's a good story that goes along with that one. So we've identified the two areas that we need to work on. And what are we doing now to help these students? The first thing we're doing is in these student subgroups, we know every student that's in these subgroups. This enabled us, for instance, weeks ago to identify our SPED students and provide these students with extra support from our veteran teachers to help bridge the learning gaps that they have experienced. Next thing we've done is we've embedded tutoring and remediation into our daily schedule 4 days a week. The next thing we have is for students who have already taken things such as the writing SOL and maybe came up just a little bit short, we have brought in an experienced teacher who has been given daily writing instruction to these students. At the end of this instruction, these students will take and pass the work keys assessment and thus pass the writing SOL. The next thing we've done to help these students out, some of these students' transportation is an issue. Just being able to stay after school for tutoring. So we have now after school tutoring bus which departs campus at 4:05. This means our students can stay Monday through Thursday and get tutoring help from their teachers and still have a ride home. So students need a little more help than that. Every Tuesday and Thursday, our media center is open until 5:30 for those students to get even more help. And we have an activity bus that runs at 5:35 in the afternoon to transport students home. So we have opportunities for students that want to seek out the additional help. And the next thing we've done to help these students out, we've added some software that you'll hear a lot of this year. It's called No Red Ink and Performance Matters. We have done this for all our students. This enables administrators, instructional coordinators, instructional leaders to utilize this data and incorporate it into their PLC meetings. And also it enables them to make up-to-date adjustments immediately instead of waiting for the SOL scores to come back. A lot of times when you get the SOL scores back, that is valuable data, but that doesn't really do a whole lot to help those students that got those scores. So we're using this information we get from these two programs to give us real-time information to help the students now before they go into taking the SOL. It also helps us target the needs of these specific students right here and helping them reach their goals with these subgroups. Now, as Paul Harvey likes to say, it's for the rest of the story. We talked about some areas we have to grow. Well, it wouldn't be, I have a little bit to boast a little bit on this one right here. So I want to take just a second and share some good news with you. If you look at this right here, and the top is our English scores, you will see our Asian subgroup grew from 94% to 100%. Our black students, remember that was one of our level 2s, they decreased 3 points from 66 to 63. I know that's written kind of funny, but that's the way it reads, okay, 66, 63. Our economically disadvantaged students went up from 65 to 70% in English. Our English learners from 56% to 63. Hispanic students from 78%, we were at 80%, we went down 2 points to 78%. And in our multi-race students, we grew from 76% to 80%, and students with disability, 41% to 50%. And our white students grew from 80 to 83. So with the exception of those two subcategories there, every one of our subgroups grew last year. Now, this is our math achievement down here at the bottom. The first thing I'm going to highlight is every subgroup grew last year. So let's go through this one. Asian students had a remarkable 33% growth from 67% to 100%. Black students went from 82 to 84%. Our economically disadvantaged went from 84 to 87. Our English language learners, 96% to 100%. Our Hispanic students from 90 to 93. Multi-race went from 82 to 91. And our students with disability, remember we talked about this up here a while ago. I told you one of our subgroups was this students with disability. They were level 2, but we actually grew 9 points in that area. But 50% is still too low. That's why we're still at a level 2. Down here in math, with these same group of students, they went from 76% to 89%. And our white students grew from 85% to 90%. So that was one of the, that's some of the highlights we have there, but I would like to say our math teachers did an amazing job last year. Any school in the state would be proud to put these numbers up right here. So we really, our math teachers deserve a pat on the back for the job they did last year. Going on, this is our academic achievement over the past 3 years. As you can see, every year for the past 3 years, we've been above the state bar in every subject. Going on to the next one, this is our chronic absenteeism. Remember, that was one of our red ones at the beginning. 2 years ago, we were at 51% of our students were chronically absent. That translates into 51% of our students missed 18 or more days that school year. This is coming right out of COVID. Well, last year that number dropped. It went down to 36.4%. So that shows a pretty good decrease in that area. The chart at the top, it tracks our growth over the years. You can see the post-COVID spike, and then you can see the one downward trend I'd like to see for us continue, and that's that hill coming down right there. It's very sharp, and we want to keep it going in that direction. What's some of the things we can do, or what are some of the things we are doing that's going to help us with that? Number one, we're going to increase our communication to parents of struggling students. And we're doing this by personal phone calls and letters being mailed home. We were also able this year to maintain part-time support personnel in the guidance office that focuses on ensuring compliance with state mandates and meeting our parent engagement expectations. Next, this year we have a fully staffed school counseling department. This lets them have direct meetings with students and parents to help improve attendance. The next thing we have is we have utilized our division social worker to assist with our chronically absent students. And finally, we have plans for our students and parents that have ongoing issues. The social worker and the principal work together for our persistently absent students. Looking at the chart on top, you will notice this drop, and you can see this reduction going forward. Those are some of the steps we're doing this year to make sure we continue to see that trend next year. Going on to the next one, this shows our graduation rate for the past 3 years. This tracks the percentage of students that enter together as a cohort in the 9th grade and the percentage of that cohort that graduates 4 years later. Last year was the first year in the past 3 years that we exceeded the state graduation rate in on-time graduation. The next one is our CCCRI, and Dr. Honaker has already explained these are the 5 areas where you can receive this recognition. And as you can see, last year we took a pretty amazing jump to above 85%. That's a pretty good achievement last year, and we're going to try to continue that on. And going on to our next one. Next to our instructional updates. You've already heard about No Red Ink and the Performance Matters software, which is helping guide our efforts. However, our area of writing still has an area of growth that we need to improve upon. So one of the things I've done this year is I've asked every teacher of every subject to embed a graded writing assignment into their content once every 3 weeks. In order for us to get better every year, we need to make sure that we are practicing writing, giving feedback to our students on writing, and practicing some more. It has to be a school-wide effort if we're going to improve the writing scores. It can't be for an hour and a half every day by the English teacher. We have to make sure it's a school-wide effort. Also, this year we've revised our grading schematic to align closely with all secondary schools. We now use the Tier 1 and Tier 2 and Tier 3 plans, where Tier 3 grades such as major tests, exams, and final projects are weighted for 35% of the final grade. Level 2 assignments are 25%, and Level 1 assignments are at 20%. This provides consistency in every high school level class that the students take. This is the same schematic if they're in band class, or if they're in ag class, or English class, or math class. We're using this school-wide to help our students understand how they earn their grades. We also monitor teachers' lesson plans through our Canvas program. These are checked during our walkthroughs and observations. I have scheduled 1 hour a day, every day, to do walkthroughs and observations. And I invited our instructional coordinators to go with me. And they have. They have shown up. And I will tell you, I found their expertise in these areas to be invaluable to me in helping me give great feedback to the teachers. Their insight has been exceptional, and I've learned things that I didn't even know. So I was real happy to have them be a part of it. Also, our lead teachers have been instrumental in helping support our new and beginning teachers. In addition, we meet as leadership team on the first and third Wednesdays of every month, and my leadership team has consistently brought things to the table for the betterment of our school. One of their core jobs is to lead their PLCs. They utilize their data to have instruction and help grow our teachers. All of our efforts translate into our professional development programs, growing from their work in the PLCs. They work together in their PLCs to disaggregate data, develop lesson plans, and discuss interventions that may be needed. We have been fortunate this year to partner also with the University of Mary Washington, where they have helped us with our new teachers' professional development, as well as doing teacher observations and giving direct feedback back to these teachers. One of the changes that we've done this year involves communication. Every Sunday night at 7:30, our parents, students, and staff receive a phone call at 7:30. They talk about the events and the things we need to discuss for the upcoming week. They get a phone call and they get a detailed email highlighting these things in case they can't listen to the phone call. If you wanted to know what's going on at the high school, you can also see that. You can visit our webpage, and under Principal, all of the weekly updates are archived, so you can go in and take a look. So if you don't get the phone call or the email, you can go onto the website and see what's going on at the high school that week. I would like to take a second to talk about student behavior with something that's going on this year. And our leadership team has been very helpful in helping restructure our behavior support and plans. We had to reevaluate our old plan, and we saw some areas that needed enhancement or just plain supervision. I asked the faculty for assistance, and I'm proud to say that the staff came running. We took one professional day, and as an administration, we worked with our instructional leaders and went over our plan with them so that they understood and could comprehend what we're trying to change. And then our instructional leaders took that out to their departments in the afternoon and shared that same plan with them. The next morning, we saw an immediate improvement. That one professional learning day we dedicated out was well worth the time we spent to improve that area and to make our schools safer for all our students. This was a much needed change, and we've seen a lot of improvement in student behavior. I would like to share with you, using our Performance Matters data, we have seen a 36% reduction in student behaviors from October to November. Most of our discipline was from our younger students, and we have seen a 45% reduction in their behavior referrals during this same month's period. Thank you for allowing me to share some of the things we have going on at Orange County High School. And now I would like to turn it over to Dr. Renee Honecker.
Thank you, Mr. Price.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Renee, close it out.
Okay, so you've heard strategies common to all of the secondary schools that follow these different categories. Attendance, you heard some similarities and some differences in the schools and what they're doing. The category of academic achievement, which includes the training of our teachers, both experienced and new. Our assessment, our student learning data, how we're using that much more effectively this year, and different things that we're doing in the area of instruction. We have a great deal of things that are going really well in our schools. We have a lot to celebrate, but we also know that we have areas needing improvement. But I feel like we're going to meet that challenge because we have teachers who are diligent. They are very diligent. They are talented, and they're focused on ensuring the success of their students. They're also guided by these three people that you saw tonight who are very dedicated to their schools. They've spent a lot of time, intentional time, working on ways to improve the data that you see. We always want to get better, and I feel like with the teams of teachers that we have and the leaders we have in our buildings and the support of the coordinators like you talked about, we have a great team up here as well. I do think that next year we're going to be standing up here and we're going to be giving you some results that are much higher than what you've seen tonight. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide. And at this time, the principals and I are here to answer any questions that you might have. It's not all, Nick's ready. The other two, not so much. No. I would also like to say that the teachers who are here tonight, thank you for coming. And I'd also like to tell you that the assistant principals that are here who made it out tonight, I'd like to thank them too, because it's a team effort. And we have a lot of dedicated individuals. And Nick, I don't think, any questions or anything you'd like to say to the secondary staff?
No, just thank you for all your presentations. Very well done. Thank you.
Just thank you for coordinating transportation
Absolutely. I was going to just
for all in tutoring for all of our sites, all 9, including our secondary. So that's incredibly well done.
And you know, Justin doesn't often get kudos, but I will say that when that came out from the state, you know, here's the idea. He's the first one to always call over and go, if I ask him a question, his answer to me is always, we'll figure out a way to make it happen, Renee. That's what he always says. Isn't it, Justin? That's your response. So I second that, Dr. Hornick.
Absolutely.
He's a great guy. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Renee, thank you. Ms. Burke, Mr. Price, Mr. Sedano, thank you guys very much for your time, your acumen, your expertise. I think this was helpful for everybody in the community who has a stake in our schools to get a very good idea of where we stand and our strategies to get where we want to go. So I want to commend you all for a job well done. And again, Renee, thank you. And with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Page.
And I'd just like to say, you know, I've said it many times, I'll put this division up against any of them in the state of Virginia, hands down. I've always said that we have got the best staff, we've got the best teachers, admin, and I'd put you up against anybody in the state of Virginia. So I thank you.
Thank you.
And with that being said, Ms. Bell, how about calendars?
For December, we have a regular school board meeting on the 4th, a governor's school board meeting on the 6th, and we will be adding a meeting We just wanted the board to officially approve it, but we will have the architects RRMM in to talk about their CTE analysis study. And since we will have a quorum of board members attending, we need to actually make that a meeting. So, and that's at 10 o'clock on the 8th.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
And then we have a work session on the 18th and winter break the 21st through 2nd for students, or 3rd for students and 2nd for staff. The 3rd will be a teacher work day. And then in January, we will also need to look at possibly moving the meeting on the 8th. Dr. Hornick has a conflict that day with a conference, but we can look at that at the next meeting if we'd like. And then we have a student all-staff holiday on the 15th for Martin Luther King Jr. Day and the work session on the 29th.
All righty.
So if we could just officially make the 8th a meeting,
Okay.
we just need to.
So I would like to make a motion to go ahead and do official meeting on December the 8th for the study. Can I have that in a form of a motion, please?
Wait a minute, we're talking about you're talking about the 10 o'clock meeting on the 8th?
Yes, sir. We'll have a quorum, so it's now become a meeting.
Oh. You want a motion?
Yes, please.
Okay. I make a motion that we announce a board meeting on December 8th at 10 a.m. here at Tech Center.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. There you go, Ms. Byron.
Okay.
All right, so now, let's see.
Review December 4th agenda. Review December 4th agenda.
Yeah, moving on to December 4th. Right now, it looks like it's a pretty light agenda. We will have some recognitions, routine public comment, and as of this time, we have the approval of the change order for Gordon Barber.
All righty. So, can we have closed session certification, please?
Member comments?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't think it was worth putting it on the agenda, but I did want to give a report on the delegate assembly that we talked about. Remember, there were 4 items that we approved. They approved the 3 of them without any discussion. There was a lot of discussion about number 4. A delegate from Virginia Beach really wanted to add some words that would have. They're trying to. What their idea was, they want the court to move as fast as they can on truancy, because if they move fast, then the students are back in school. Unfortunately, she didn't. She made the motion. I told you they would have to suspend the rules for them to do that. She made the motion to suspend the rules, and that motion's not discussable, debatable. So she made the motion to set the rules aside before she hadn't told us what she wanted to do. So it was a tactical mistake on her side. She should explain to the delegates what she wanted to do and then ask for the rules to be. So since she asked for the rules to be suspended and nobody in the room knew what she was going to do, it would take a 2/3 vote to do it. So it failed on about a 50-50 vote. So in the end, they passed number 4 just like it was, and that was the only thing that was a little exciting.
Yeah.
concludes my report.
Thank you. And always VSBA was lobbying for local control, keeping everything local. All right, so with that being said, Mr. Jones.
Yes, ma'am. Pursuant to 2.2-3711A, the Code of Virginia, the Orange County School Board will convene a closed meeting for the following. Discussion of personnel or the performance of a division employee is authorized by Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia for resignation, termination, transfer, employment, salary adjustment, and retirement of employees.
Thank you. Can we have a second?
Second.
All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We're in closed session.
Is Greg turning the owl back on? Is Greg turning the owl back on?
She should have stayed on the phone.
She did, okay.
She's still on the phone.
Okay, okay.
All right, closed session certification, please, Mike.
Whereas the Orange County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires certification by this school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law, now therefore be it resolved that the Orange County School Board hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, one, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed, and two, only such public business matters were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened, were heard, discussed, or considered.
Thank you. Can we have a second?
Second?
Roll call, Ms. Bauer?
Ms. Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. Hopkins,
Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Ms. Page,
Aye.
Ms. Winter.
Aye.
Thank you. Madam Chair, the clerk certifies the vote as a 5-0 vote.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Hornick, disposition of personnel actions?
Yes, ma'am. Recommend approval of the personnel actions as presented in closed session.
Okay. Can we have a motion to accept?
Make a
Personnel
motion that
actions?
we accept the superintendent's recommendations for resignation, salary adjustment, employment of staff, and coaching appointments.
All right, thank you. Can we have a second?
Second.
All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. And at this time, if there's no other business, I'll adjourn this meeting.